Hello and welcome to Skincare Confidential, a podcast supporting the Science of Skincare Summit, an annual educational conference focusing on skincare held every year in Austin, Texas, November 8th through the 10th, 2024 in the Fairmont Hotel this year. I am Dr. Ted Lane, your host for today, but I am really excited to have a very special guest, Dr. Dustin Portela. Dr. Portela is the owner of Treasure Valley Dermatology in Boise, Idaho, but you probably know him better as at Dr. Dustin Portela on all different social media platforms. He has millions of followers, and he is a premier and prestige dermatologist, educating all sorts of followers, whether fellow dermatologists or also those who are just interested in learning more about dermatology and skincare. And he does a wonderful job. So, Dustin, thank you so much for being on with me today.
Well, thank you, Ted. I appreciate that kind introduction as well.
Yeah. So, Dustin, one of the things I really want to highlight is kind of how we're working together at the Science of Skincare Summit this year, because you are chairing what we're calling Derm Influencer University, which is unique and the first time we're doing this, and we're so excited. Can you just kind of give an overview of what your thought process is behind this and what you're trying to achieve with it?
Absolutely. So, being a, derm influencer, whatever you want to call it, has been a lot of fun for me to get out and educate through social media. And there's a few, pieces of the puzzle, if you will, as to why this got started. But one of those is that I saw a lot of misinformation in the early days of TikTok, right before and during the beginning of the pandemic, where people were getting online and making recommendations for skincare. And I was seeing some of these people in the clinic. I'm like, where did you learn to do this for your skin? Like, we don't recommend that at all. And with a lot of this misinformation that was starting to happen, part of my early platform as I was educating on social media was to debunk some of these myths and try to help people actually know how to take care of their skin, actually understand what skincare products or ingredients would help them tackle certain problems. And that need remains, critical. And the way that I like to look at dermatologists or really any medical professional getting on social media is that there's no competition here. I'm in a town where there's a handful of dermatologists. I know there's a lot of derms in the areas where you have clinics as well, and everybody seems to do all right. And when you go to a specialist, you gravitate towards people that you mesh with, that you have a good rapport with, that you trust. And if you don't have that, you might look for a second opinion. But everybody, at least in my community, is doing fine. Nobody is starving. There's no dermatologist that's having a tough time putting food on the table. I look at it the same way on social media. There are so many voices that are needed, and the people will find the dermatologists or the doctors that resonate with them, that teach in a style that helps them understand skincare. So I think that there's only a benefit to having more and more voices. I don't see any of it as competition for, ears and eyeballs. And over the last couple of years, I have not gone to a conference and I have not gone a week without somebody reaching out to me either in person or through social media about how can I, as a medical professional, get started on social media. You've done really well with this. I would like to get started. And I've spent, tons of time with individuals one-on-one saying, all right, this is where you need to get started. This is what you need to do. And the questions really accelerated this year at the American Academy of Dermatology meeting. I attended that with my manager. And at that point, we decided we need a way to teach people how to do this because the demand is incredible. How can we streamline this and help people have a simple recipe for finding your voice on social media, recording a video, getting it posted, and then learning from that process to get better and better. And that's where we started to think that Medfluencer University could be a great asset, whether that's online resources and now an in-person conference in collaboration with the Science of Skincare Summit, which I think is a really great way of bringing people together and getting multiple ideas, out in the open. So everybody that wants to, that has a desire to educate through social media, will have the tools and the resources to know how to do that in their own voice.
We're real excited to get this kicked off this year. Again, this MedInfluencer University is kicking us off on Friday morning with Dr. Portela and other social media, really influential dermatologists. And so we're super excited to have you involved, Dustin. And really, I think this is going to be the beginning of something that will it maybe even take on a life of its own as we develop it together. And there's so much need for that. As you mentioned, there's a lot of demand for it, but even more than demand, I think there's a need for it. Like you said, you can't do it all yourself, right? Even though you do a great job, I think you're right. I think there are others who may come in with a different style, a different viewpoint, and multiple viewpoints are always good. So I'm excited to learn from you and Dr. Zubritsky and Dr. Liu as well. Mimi Banks is coming in, who is, I believe, your manager. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mimi, who really is just so experienced in this field. So for those of you out there who are interested in this, we'll have it for the first time this year at 2024 in the Science of Skincare Summit. And really, I think this is going to be the beginning of a really incredible partnership. So I'm excited for it. Dustin, I don't want to spend the entire time talking about social media, even though we could, because I feel like you are so much more, even though that's such an important part of what you do, you're so much more than that as well. But, as you look back on your career in social media and how it relates to your career as a working, everyday dermatologist, what has it done for you? I mean, I know there's financial success, which is great, but in terms of your career and just your everyday life, how does that empower you or impact you on a daily basis?
Yeah. When I first took to social media, the pure goal was to just get more people into my practice. I was a, young dermatologist right out of residency. My first job was one of the classic stories where the old and the young dermatologists just don't see eye to eye on how things should be. And I left that job within 6 months of my first job. So I was opening a clinic from scratch. I couldn't afford to pay myself and I didn't have a marketing budget. So I thought if I posted some videos on social media, maybe somebody would see it and they'd want to come and let me treat their acne or screen them for skin cancer. And as we got into the pandemic, leading at the end of 2019 into 2020, people were on their phones all the time. They had nowhere to go, nothing else to do. And skincare really found a voice there talking about dermatology, skincare, skin health. And it did bring some people into the clinic, and that's been a positive thing. And I'm still surprised when somebody sees me being silly or creative on social media that they want me to be their doctor. It's always a flattering thing. And then a lot of my patients end up finding that after they've been into the clinic because they think our phones listen to us and they geo-target us. They'll serve up my videos to them. But it's been a fun way to build rapport with my own patients because they will comment on my videos and they will ask for advice. And I really appreciate that. It's given me the opportunity to find a creative outlet. I was never the type of person that was into theater or into performing arts. And, I was all sports when I was in high school. And so this has been a side of me that I've really enjoyed developing and finding that creative outlet. And as you mentioned, there has been some financial reward with that. And it's allowed me to make some goals finally come true that I had since the time that I was a medical student when I was working with the homeless community outreach at Des Moines University, where I went to medical school, where we would visit individuals who were unhoused, take them coffee, water, batteries, clean socks, and then also see them in a mobile clinic and go meet them where they were to help them get prescriptions, to be compliant with their medication. That was the first place I did a physical exam on a patient and reported to an attending, was a first-year medical student in a mobile clinic. And I made it a goal at that point that I will do this someday. And I didn't even know what kind of doctor I would be at that point. And I started making those plans a year or two after I'd opened my clinic. Before I even saw success on social media, we were going to do a mobile clinic. And it was going to take time to save up for that because it's, not a money-making endeavor. But social media really accelerated that. It allowed me to have the capital to go and purchase a motor home, to afford the gas, the insurance, and everything, and just go out and do good work for people. And that's really been what social media has done for me, is allowed me to do something that I think, a lot of doctors find in their heart that they would want to do things like that. That's why we go into medicine. We truly want to help people. We really want to have that physician-patient relationship. I think it's one of the most sacred relationships in the world when somebody trusts you with their health in that way. And I really feel like the mobile clinic helps me get back to the root of that, to get away from the encumbrations of insurance companies and all that. And there's challenges to not have those resources, but ultimately it's just one-on-one time with a patient. And I really enjoy it.
Gosh, Dustin, that's just amazing. And I think with your voice and presence, very large presence in dermatology, I wonder if this could be scaled beyond kind of in Boise what you're doing, which is amazing. But my mind immediately goes to, gosh, how do I replicate that in Austin? How do I replicate that in Louisiana and the practices that we have in our company? And so, all of your learnings and everything that you've done right, and I'm sure you found out that you've done some things wrong along the way,
Mhm.
because we always do. Others could learn from you and replicate. We don't need other people to set up the facilities for us to go work in. We really can develop the facilities ourselves, and like you said, meet people where they are, because that's always, I find, the most impactful and the most successful is you meet people where they are to give them the services they need. Right? That's
Mhm.
exactly what your thought process is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Try to
amazing.
find those people, lift them up, help them improve
Mhm.
their health, because we're still physicians. We do more than just look at the skin. We understand how the skin impacts the internal health of the person and vice versa, what internally is going on that manifests on the skin. And we may be their only doctor that they see that year that can help them understand why sleep is important, why nutrition is important, how to access those resources. And we've partnered with some charitable clinics in the area to help connect patients to more resources to not only impact the health of their skin, but their overall health. Because if they're healthier, they can not miss work quite so often. They can take better care of their families. They can lift themselves up in the world. And all of those things are important. And if I get to play a small role in that, it's really a privilege.
Amazing. So, taking an altruistic approach from the success of your social media career and everything that you're doing to help. And by the way, that is helping people as well, right? So
Mhm.
it's not like social media is anything but helping people,
Sure.
because as you said, I mean, dispelling myths is a huge issue that we do all day, every day with our patients, whether it be for skincare or whether it be for Accutane, for example, or, JAK inhibitors. We have so many people that read such false information on some of these novel medical therapeutics that we use, that we have to constantly dispel and refute. Having someone on social media or a cadre of really well-spoken, intelligent dermatologists on social media who can help us, dispel myths and pervade the truth on social media only helps the entire specialty, because it's something that we do on a micro level every day. Perhaps we could alleviate some of that burden in every single person's office by having a group of dermatologists do it online.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's an important point, because there's people who develop skin problems because of bad information online, and now they're filling up
Yeah.
dermatology offices. What if we can correct that by having more voices online? Or what if somebody has a very minor problem that could be easily fixed with over-the-counter remedies and they can learn about that online? I think that's very important. And what if somebody cannot access a dermatologist at all, and we're able to help them know, hey, that thing that you're worried about, this is what skin cancer looks like. And maybe you really need to make an effort to go get that looked at. And so I think that there's a wide range of things that we can do online where we're not necessarily in that one-on-one relationship, but there is a lot of value that can be provided at scale that can help to improve the health, the skin health, and the lives of the people that we get to interact with online.
And let's just be honest, there's such a demand out there for this kind of information, that demand leads to a vacuum if we're not the ones filling it, right? And that vacuum is going to be filled by, as it is right now, people who are not experts in skin, who are not
Yeah.
experts in skincare, and they are delivering false information, just like you experienced early on in the pandemic. And so it really is up to dermatology to kind of be the flag bearer of delivering healthy, correct information on social media, which is, again, the purpose of Derm Influencer University, and just kind of highlighting everything you're doing on a daily basis. Dustin, as you kind of look at the skincare landscape, because, Skincare Confidential, we focus on skincare here, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you look at the landscape, and I know you work with a lot of different companies, what are you most excited about when you think of current products or current themes, and or what are you excited about in regards to the pipeline of technology that's coming down?
The thing that I think will revolutionize skincare, and we're just starting to see it really get its own moment on the market, I think, are peptides. I
Okay.
think we've had a lot of really cool, new ways to package retinol. Vitamin C is tried and true. Niacinamide is in everything now, but some of those products are not really well tolerated by people. And I think that peptides, as we learn, what are the best peptides for skincare, how can we actually deliver them to the skin and get them down to their target? I think we're going to see really amazing results on a lot of problems that we've had difficulty in tackling with some of these other products. I love retinol. I use it every night, but it's kind of a jack of all trades. It does some things really well, but if we can have peptides that really can target specific problems, I think there's a lot of research dollars being poured into that. And we're seeing new molecules come onto the market that are doing pretty cool things. I think it's only going to get better. So I would say I'm very excited about the future of peptides in skincare.
Yeah, it's interesting how companies now are delivering these micropeptides, these 2, 3 amino acid long peptides, which essentially act as signaling molecules and or active molecules themselves. And that solves for a lot of the issue with peptides in terms of their size,
Yeah.
because they're greater than 500 Daltons, which makes it difficult for them to be absorbed into the skin or for them to penetrate the skin. So these micropeptides really, I think, are the future. Or to your point, carrier molecules, like novel carrier technology, delivery technology to kind of bypass the 500 Dalton rule for the skin and allow larger molecules to get in. There's so much technology and dollars spent on that as well. But I agree with you. I think peptides have been historically a really important part of regimen, and I think probably Elastin has done the most in terms of kind of highlighting the importance of peptides. Neutrogena came out with their diacetyl peptide, which is paired with their retinol as well. So yeah, it's an interesting time, isn't it? And I think, as you said, it's time for us to move away from retinols. Even, retinols have been around for 50 years. Is there something better? Is there something safer, more tolerable? So it's pretty interesting right now as we look at the future and what these different companies are using for anti-aging or skin rejuvenation.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's an area where consumers need to be educated, and we need voices, because as these peptides get developed, and maybe you understand this a little bit better, when I think about the systemic peptides people are injecting, semaglutide, things like that, that these companies can't actually patent the peptide, but they're patenting the delivery mechanism of Wegovy and of Ozempic. I don't know if it's the same with topical skincare, if they're patenting these peptides or not. I don't know. I don't know if you know that.
I think they patent the molecule. I
Molecule.
really do.
Okay.
But we can learn more about that.
Yeah. Because if, there will be other companies that try to develop these, but if they don't have the technology to deliver them to the skin, they're going to market that they have peptides and they're not actually going to be effective. And so that's where we need people educating and understanding how these molecules work. Can they be delivered? Is this mechanism of delivery actually effective? And it goes back to that education piece, where more voices that understand this stuff and talk about it are going to help the consumer, going to help the patient.
So novel peptides used mainly for anti-aging, rejuvenating purposes. When you start thinking about your medical patients that you're treating, your acne, rosacea, AD patients, and you focus on the kind of integrated skincare with your topical therapeutic, do you kind of still focus on ceramide containing skincare, or are you still focused on ingredients? Not still being that's a bad thing, but are you continuing to focus on ingredients, or do you find yourself more now looking at, these companies are doing really interesting thing with formulations, and it's probably time for us to stop the focus on single ingredients and start looking at more a formulation directed approach for advising on different skincare products?
I think it is more of that whole formulation. And, we've all experienced companies that have nearly an identical list of ingredients, but it's the way that they put them together. You can buy, the brand name of something in the store brand, and they're close, but they don't quite feel the same. They don't quite smell the same. And so just focusing on an ingredient only, we know that if we just tell somebody, find a benzoyl peroxide wash, they may go grab a generic 10% that tears their skin up, but they could get a brand name that has a better formulation that's going to be much more gentle on their skin. So I think that whole formulation is important. When I talk to my patients, I do try to make specific brand recommendations that I've personally tried that I like, that my staff may have given me feedback on, or that I've seen other dermatologists educate about, where I understand and trust their recommendation as well. So I do think that formulation approach is increasingly important, because when we are dealing with a patient who has, insurance, we have a formulary, we have specific prescriptions that we can work with. And not all of those prescriptions are really cosmetically elegant or have a low risk of irritation. And so putting that together with an over-the-counter regimen that will help to complement, that will decrease inflammation, that will repair the skin barrier, I think that helps us to get our patients better faster.
I love the analogy of kind of the store brand versus the name brand, especially when it comes to skincare, because you're right. You can, you turn the bottles and you look at the list of ingredients and they look exactly alike, but the actual experience of using the product can be night and day. Mm-hmm. And so I agree with you. When I talk to my patients about, hey, I want you to buy this moisturizer, and yes, the brand name is necessary. And often we have coupons to help lower the cost to bring it closer to the store brand cost. It's for a reason, right? That these companies are so good at delivering a product that enhances the user experience, which translates into compliance as well, and also better effectiveness, better efficacy. So, I mean, you could take it one step further and look at generics versus brand name drugs, right? Where, you look at the active ingredients, look pretty much the same. Even the inactive ingredients look the same. But boy, the amount of time and effort that these manufacturers have put into their brand name prescription, where they, especially this day and age, it needs to act like a skincare product because everybody expects that. I think that there is just a huge difference between generic and brand name in the topical therapeutics, just like there is in topical skincare. So I really appreciate that analogy. And it's something that I talk about a lot, and maybe people listening to this don't realize. But if you take the brand name, guys, and you just try it versus the store brand, you will absolutely see the difference.
Mm-hmm. And if somebody's using a store brand and it's working well for them, that's great. I don't mean to disparage a store brand if it's working well for somebody, or if you just can't afford that name brand, but just to illustrate that there are differences in the user experience.
100%. Yeah, you're right. Listen, if you're doing well in the store brand, you're 100% right. You don't need to change. But I think for dermatologists, if they recommend a brand name, there's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. The extra dollars are probably well spent. Dustin, thank you so much. I appreciate your time very much, your expertise as well. We are looking forward to having you at the Science of Skincare Summit this year and kind of helping develop the Med Influencer University. And it's going to be great. Guys, I'm Dr. Ted Lane. I'm a co-host of Skincare Confidential, co-director and co-founder of the Science of Skincare Summit. I'm with Dr. Dustin Portela, who is chairing the Med Influencer University at the Skincare Summit as well. You can find him on social media at all the different platforms at Dr. Dustin Portela. That's with one L, Dustin Portela with one L. This is Skincare Confidential. Please don't forget to subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and refer us to your friends as well. Thank you very much.